Drugs are bad, kids. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So, that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to The Substance. This is a donation reward for Venom, so thank you, Venom. And yeah, this is a movie I am very interested in, because I've heard a lot of people saying a lot of good things about it. And I know the very basic gist of what this is about. Like, the most basic gist. I don't know any details, or I don't even know who's in it. This came out a couple years ago, and it got, like, huge rave reviews, though. It was, like, really well received. So what I know about it is that it's about, like, some celebrity who gets a pill, or, like, a prescription of pills that for some reason, like, affects them, like, in a seemingly positive way, but then it goes into, like, body horror. And that's the extent of my knowledge. And it's like, it's so, like, it's gonna be blatantly, like, this kind of, like, movie, I feel, that's touching on topics of, like, body image and celebrity image and whatnot, as well as just the overall vibe of, like, not having to, or you shouldn't have to worry about, like, living up to a certain standard of beauty. Plus, there's the entire drug aspect to it. So I feel like there's going to be a good amount of commentary to this film. And it's almost a surprise it did so well then, because so many people seem to hate commentary. Like, the funny thing is, like, there's a good amount of people out there who, like, get pissy anytime a movie has any kind of commentary. And they're in the minority, all things considered, but they're the vocal minority. They're usually so vocal about it. And I have not heard anyone saying, like, anything bad about this film. Everything I've heard about it has been positive. And it's like, and we're talking about a movie that is, like, giving commentary on, like, beauty standards, and there's no negatives. Like, no one's saying anything negative about this film. That's surprising. At least no one is, like, super vocal about it. Like, in terms of hearing people talk about this movie on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, whatever else, everything I've seen and heard has always been entirely positive. And again, I haven't, like, heard any spoilers or anything. It's just, again, the most basic description of the film and the most basic like reviews, like people saying like, "Oh, I really liked this" and everything. I've heard no one saying the opposite. I've heard no one saying like, "Oh, this wasn't for me," or "I didn't like this," or "I found it to be bad." Nothing like that. So, I'm very curious because it's been made very clear through this channel and in a lot of cases that my views aren't always up to like the majorities. There's a lot of times where there will be movies that a lot of people really love that I just don't, and vice versa. So it's always up in the air as to whether I'm going to love a movie as much as someone else, to some kind of fraction that someone else likes it, or if I'm not going to like it like they do. And when you have a movie like this that is so well received, you almost feel bad if you don't like it. But again, I've stated many times, and I'm going to keep doing so. When I watch these movies, the opinion that I form from it is my opinion. It's my genuine, authentic thoughts. And I'm not going to say otherwise. I'm not going to pretend that I like a movie if I don't. And I'm not going to pretend to hate a movie if I love it. I'm going to share my authentic thoughts no matter what the case is. And hopefully I love it. Like, that's always the hope. But sometimes it just isn't the case. So, yeah. I'm just like getting you prepared in case I don't end up liking this as much as everyone else seems to. But again, my wish, my desire is that I do. And I'm going to be as open-minded with it as possible. But I guess I should tell my thoughts on this entire kind of subject matter beforehand. In terms of the drugs and everything, it's like, obviously there are some drugs that are, very good and important and are things that we should be taking, like for health reasons. The kind of like over-the-counter drugs you get at the pharmacy. But if you're talking more like, the more intense drugs, the only one that I can really stand behind is marijuana. Like everything else, I don't really stand behind personally. Like there's obviously some that are not as bad as others, but it's just like it's just something I personally can't like get behind. And I don't think anybody's gonna try to like get behind stuff like meth or whatnot. But I'm talking like even stuff like mushrooms and all, or stuff like that that's like lesser bad than like heroin. But I it really it's just marijuana, and I guess to a degree cigarettes and whatnot, even though I don't actually agree with those. So basically just marijuana. But in terms of like over the counter stuff, because I think that's more of what this is going for. Um, Again, based off of the very little I know, people becoming addicted to that is a very real issue. Whether it be painkillers or whatever else. And it can end up being like a massive problem. So I feel like it's gonna definitely touch on that, and I've never really had an issue with that personally, thankfully. But it's something that I do feel like if you do have some kind of proclivity to that, you should be very wary, and you should like have your like medication maybe monitored by someone you trust. That's my thoughts on that. In terms of, I feel like I can say more about the beauty standards part. I think it's bullshit. I think the entire beauty standards thing, especially within celebrity culture, is bullshit. Because it's built pretty much entirely on this false ideal of what constitutes beauty. And it creates this unhealthy image issue in a lot of people, especially like teens, and most notably, it's throughout the years, it's been disproportionately affecting teen girls who, see like this stuff in the magazines, see all these celebrities and think they have to look just like them, otherwise they're ugly as sin. And that's extremely toxic. And the problem is, like, Hollywood and music and just celebrity culture in general pushes this ideal by only pushing like forward the celebrities who are ideally super attractive. It's only in the more recent years, the more recent decades, that we've gotten more celebrities who are like, unconventionally attractive, especially in terms of women, who are being like, really praised and focused on. You look back throughout the years, most of Hollywood, let's be completely honest, is super white, is super straight, but is also super thin, super hourglass shaped in terms of, again, this is we're especially talking about like, the feminine form and everything here. And it's very toxically like singular in that. Most movies you watch, even nowadays, most celebrities will have a very specific look to them. And again, like it's disproportionately towards women. But like even guys, it's like a lot of times they have to look a certain way. And you see a lot of like actors who never make it big, a lot of actresses who never make it big because they don't fit into that mold. And there's just so many issues with it. There's so many issues there. And again, it's gotten better, but it's still a thing. And it's disgusting. Because it gives this really toxic false standard to especially the children who watch it. And that's not going to help anyone. So, yeah. I just I would love to see that kind of thing dismantled completely. I would love to see Hollywood and music feature more people who are, of different body shapes and different facial features and whatnot, and are just not, like the same, like stereotypically pretty people over and over again. It's just like, again, and you could name some like examples of ones who have been even in media for decades and decades. But again, it's always the exception and not the rule. Like, yeah, you have the likes of like Willem Dafoe's who are not like necessarily the most conventionally attractive actors out there. But like that's the exception. You have much more who are similar to Chris Evans or um Tom Cruise or whatnot. Um, Hell, you could even put Keanu Reeves in that category. You have much more of that kind of actor in terms of male actors. In terms of female actors, the Rebel Wilsons and the like are very uncommon. You have much more of the Halle Berrys and the Nicole Kidmans and the Cameron Diaz's. Again, it's like it's very specific, and it sucks. And people of color are also very disproportionately still the minority in terms of like drastic minority in terms of how they're like represented on screen. Again, it's gotten a lot better, a lot better. And movies that have been coming out recently, like Sinners, are even helping push that even further. But it's still to a point where most movies are majority white in terms of their cast. And it's just wild to me. It's wild to me. And it sucks. And sorry for this long rant, sorry for this ramble, but um I feel like that's the kind of themes this movie's going to touch on. So we're going to see, we're going to find out and see just exactly what this touches on in terms of fucked up Hollywood beauty standards or whatnot. So let's get into this and see what we have in store. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I was not entirely correct on the themes of this. The entire drug theme wasn't really the focus. Like the theme was obviously mostly on body image, which I did realize was going to be the thing. But I focused a little more on the drug aspect of it. Then, and again, I didn't really know too much about this. I didn't like have all this information. I had never seen any trailers for this. I just knew like the vague idea based what other people had said. And so I knew about the substance being like, you know, this like drug. And it was, but that's not really the theme that this is going on. That's not really what this is like making an exploration of. This is about like just Hollywood standards of beauty from multiple perspectives. You see the perspective of like the male producer, you see Elizabeth's perspective herself, and you get to see like how they each view it through different points. It's this Hollywood standard of beauty that's often pushed within Hollywood, within the music industry, within so many different factors of celebrity life and culture. And how it's this idea of like once you reach a certain age, or like you have like a certain like level of wrinkles on your skin, or your butt's not perfectly lifted, your breasts aren't perfectly like perky. It's like you have like this toxic standard of beauty being pushed on society to the point where it's like the audience eats it up. Like Sue becomes exceptionally popular. She becomes like exceptionally well loved. You see even at the end, like before like everything goes really chaotic, this New Year's show, all these women are topless. They all have their breasts out. That obviously doesn't make sense. It wouldn't fly in real life, but it's over the top for the point. They all have their breasts out. They're all topless because of like the sex appeal angle this is going for. Because a lot of this beauty standard relies on sex appeal. And so like even though you see kids in the audience and stuff, the point of this scene isn't like to be realistic. It's meant to be over the top. It's meant to showcase like how the beauty standards are. And how it is so often tied to sexuality. And you see that throughout the entire movie, of course. You see a lot of these shots, especially when she's Sue, of her ass, her breasts, her hips. And again, I said during the reaction, like this movie is like very sexual in the manner that it like shows a lot of this. You see a lot of nudity, you see a lot of sexual movements and everything, but it's not hot, and it's not meant to be. it's meant to be more disturbing and unsettling and uncomfortable. You're meant to be like put off by the way that she's being viewed as both Sue and as Elizabeth. The terrible way people view her and the terrible way she views herself because of these beauty standards within celebrity culture as Elizabeth, but also the gaze that is like put onto her when she becomes Sue. It's it's meant to be uncomfortable, and it is. Like, you can acknowledge like the attraction and everything. You can acknowledge these are like beautiful women. But the point being made here is very blatant. It's very like aggressively like in your face. It doesn't hide anything. And I like that. Sometimes when a movie tries to make a point or tries to send a message or, like, be very thematic, it tends to rein it in a little too much. It tends to be a little more restrained because they don't want to, like, put anybody off. They want to still they still want to, quote unquote, make a good movie without having to rely on the theme. But I actually love when a director not only relies on the theme, but pushes it into the realm of discomfort, into the realm of ridiculousness. Because it's like the more this went on, the more like Elizabeth's body decayed and stuff. It's like she became like, it became less about like keeping it realistic and more about like being, monstro eventually. When Sue injected the serum again, the single-use serum, and became Monstro Eliza. She was... it's meant to be monstrous. It's meant to be over the top because it's making a statement that this is how people are made to feel. If they don't fit into this restrictive, toxic, manipulative standard of beauty, they're made to feel like monsters. And if they can't maintain that standard of beauty, they feel like they're becoming more physically monstrous. Because that's what the world makes them feel. That's what society makes them feel. That's what Hollywood and the music industry and all make them feel. Because that's what these industries push on people. And that's what people eat up. You love going to a movie and seeing a sexy actress be all sexy, right? You love watching a music video for Beyonce and seeing her like dance all sexy and shake her body and stuff. You love that stuff. And it's because you're almost bred to love that stuff. These industries like push this so much to it becoming the norm that it becomes ingrained in our heads. It becomes ingrained in our consciousness that this is what we are supposed to strive for, not only for ourselves, but for the media we consume. And so while the people within this are made to adhere to these unrealistic and toxic standards, we as viewers are almost made to try and live up to them as well. And this is what causes like young women to have like all these horrific disorders like bulimia and whatnot. All of the like just depression that can stem from not being able to live up to your like your favorite actress or whatnot. And this can happen to men as well, but it's especially pushed on women, on the female demographics for these pieces of media, but also on the women who, again, are working in them. And we've become so ingrained in this culture that the audiences can actually get upset if the actress or the singer or whatnot isn't sexy enough. It's gotten so bad to the point that it's even extended to like fictional media, animated characters, video game characters, not real people. There's a game coming out this year. It's a new Fable game, from the Fable franchise, and people were bitching that the female character in it wasn't sexy enough. And this has been happening a lot with a lot of modern gaming. There's this big audience of people who are complaining when female characters don't fit their standards of beauty. One of the games that's coming out this month that I'm looking forward to the most, 1348 Ex Voto. People have been saying about that because the main female character, the player character, Ayala, is it Ayeta? I think it's Ayeta, not Ayala. Ayeta. Either way, she has like a bowl cut. She has like a really kind of almost silly bowl cut, and she's not what a lot of these people are saying is conventionally attractive. And you see a lot of these chuds out there even using AI and the likes to like say like, oh, Grok, edit her to be attractive and stuff. People are doing this because they've been conditioned by media to hate whenever an actress, a singer, even a fictional like drawn character or CG created character, they've been conditioned to hate when they're not like the most aggressively stereotypical conventional like depiction of beauty ever. And it's disgusting. It's horrific. And it pisses me off, honestly. I mean, as a woman who is not what I would say conventionally attractive, it bothers me. And I already have like a lot of like body dysmorphia and whatnot because of the way I look. And it's like this kind of stuff obviously doesn't help. And it's just, it's one of those cases where it fucks me up seeing how this world views this kind of thing. And it gets so bad that it like becomes like almost disgusting at points too. Like when the Last of Us show came out, and it still is persisting to this day, people bitching about Ellie's actor not being attractive enough. You know that's a child character, right? Not the actor. They're an adult. But the character is a child. You're saying that this actor is not living up to the beauty of a child character? So you're admitting to be attracted to a child character? That's fucked. But people are doing this because, again, these standards that are being pushed on us are making us think that every character has to be like super conventionally hot. And it creates this unrealistic and just ridiculous standard with everyone. Again, the people within the industry, the people watching the media or taking part in the media, and it's disgusting. And that's what this movie is trying to get across. And again, there's a part of me that kind of has to laugh because you have, what was it? Let me make sure I get the name right. You have Margaret Qualley as Sue, who is like, yeah, she's very, very pretty. She's extremely pretty. But Demi Moore is also super gorgeous. But the thing is, like, again, it's not even about whether or not they are attractive or not, or whether or not someone finds them pretty. It's about the standards that are set on them. Elizabeth was made to not feel attractive because of how others viewed her, because of her age, because of all these different factors that have told her her entire life and her entire career that once you reach that age, once you reach that certain look, once you're, again, your breasts and your ass aren't looking a certain way anymore, you're unattractive. And it's not a realistic depiction. It's not a like genuine depiction of beauty. It's this forced ideal. And this movie like elevates these kinds of feelings with like certain directed shots being like done in specific ways. Again, the way the camera focuses on the breasts and ass of Sue and even other characters um, so often, and even like when she's Elizabeth, you see some focus on that, and you see like direct parallel shots, like this the shower scene. You see Elizabeth showering at the beginning, and then you see the top down view, and it shows her breasts and everything. But then you see like Sue showering, like after she first, awakens as Sue, and you see the same exact shot, and you see how different she looks from even that angle, and it's like making a point of how her breasts are like holding up better. And again, it's this entire fucked up idea of beauty. I like how the shots are done. I like the color work in certain scenes. I like how like once she starts degenerating more and more, it becomes more frantic in terms of the camera motion, like even to the point of like being super shaky by the end, being like during this the chaotic scene like with like the blood spraying everywhere from her arm and all onto the audience and everything. You see everybody panicking and crying and screaming. It's like it's cutting a lot. It's very like choppy and like erratic in how it's shot. I like that. And like you even feel a difference in the way that scenes are shot between the Elizabeth moments and the Sue moments. It shows that like given the choice for like this miracle cure all, there's probably a lot of people who would take it and who would abuse it and misuse it because they want that ability to feel beautiful again, something they're not being let feel, even if they are beautiful still. And this is why you also see a lot of like actresses like getting work done in their older years to so they don't feel like they're aging. And again, it goes with male actors as well. It goes with NBs as well. It's just like everyone can feel this way and can be made to feel this way. But it does disproportionately affect women. This movie really really again nailed that point home. It made very clear like what it was trying to say, and it didn't like hide it behind any kind of metaphor really. Like this wasn't as metaphorical as you would expect it to be. It was very on the nose. It was very straightforward. And it made it very hard to watch. And not just because of the needle scenes and shit like that. That just, bother me on a personal level. It's just a lot of it was hard to watch because you see her like degrading. You see her mind literally fracturing into two separate personalities to where they don't even see themselves as the same person despite them literally being the same person and same consciousness. And then by the end, because of the attempted termination, but then changing her mind, it literally causes the personalities to split between the two bodies, and Sue ends up killing Elizabeth because of it. it literally causes like her mind to break so much that she literally kills a part of herself to maintain this beauty, this standard of beauty. And in the end, it just causes her to fall apart too. Sue starts falling apart, and like her teeth falling out, her ear falling off, all of that is representative. That's like very metaphorical. That's representative of her falling into the same fears, the same standard, the same like hatred of her own look and body. And so when she tries to use the serum again, it just shows like it shows her for who she's for what she's become, like this monster obsessed with beauty, obsessed with like this standard forced on her, but this monster of her own creation. And you feel bad for her. You do genuinely feel bad for her having to go through all of this and having been put through all of this because of the media, because of her producer, because of the audience, because of her own fears. But she is the one who did this to herself. And we have to acknowledge that, like, we're the ones who are doing this. We're the ones who are forcing, like, ourselves to have these surgeries, use all this makeup, and lose sight of who we are. Lose sight of who we truly are inside. It's messed up and it's sad in the end. And it's extremely well done. It's well directed. It's extremely well acted. It's well shot. Everything is like excellently handled. Like, you have to give so much massive credit to everyone in this and everyone who worked on this. The practical effects were phenomenal. Like, I still stand by that the best practical effects I think I've ever seen in a film is John Carpenter's The Thing. And I think it's saying a lot to say that this actually gets pretty close to that. It's not like it's not the same. It's not exactly like quite as much on that level, because what is, let's be honest. But it gets close, and it gets like, it's really fucking good like special effects and practical effects. They did a phenomenal job on every aspect of that. Even little moments like the shot in that nightmare she was having, like when she was like performing and you saw like the skin like bubble out on her ass. It's like that little shot was so quick and so like minor, and yet it stands out to you. It stands out to you and it makes an impact. And just everything is so good. Like, this movie is just really fucking good. It lives up to the hype entirely. All the hype, all the praise I've heard about this, absolutely lived up to. It is one of those movies where I fully agree with all that everybody's been saying about it. And I hope that this director is able to do more things like this. I hope that others take note from this and are able to like understand why this worked so well. It's because it didn't hold back. It didn't like make it didn't like lessen the blow. It made it as gruesome and intense and fucked up and like on the nose as possible, and that's what it needed to be. So yeah, I really hope that like the right things are taken from this, so this director, future directors can make more stuff like this. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised this movie got made, considering how scathing it is to Hollywood. Like, this movie is really fucking scathing towards Hollywood. So yeah,
Yeah. Um, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this film? Um, I'm sure there's plenty that I didn't specifically mention that you might want to hear my thoughts on. And if there's anything like that, you can also ask in the comments. I do read every comment, so I'll be able to see it. There's a lot of stuff I haven't mentioned in the afterthoughts because I just didn't feel like it's super pertinent to the overall theme and message here. Um, but it's like I could like mention Fred and how like Elizabeth couldn't quite see what was in front of her, and when she even tried to give him a chance, she just fell to her own anxieties about her appearance and all compared to Sue. It's like there's a lot that could be said about that, but it's like I feel like I've said what I needed to say here. I focused on what was the main point of this movie, and again, if you want any other specific like direct mentions to anything, if you want to hear my thoughts on anything more, please feel free to ask. For now, though, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.